Welcome to the Sock Soder Unfiltered podcast with your host, Melissa Kaiser. Now let's get started with the show.
Melissa Kaiser here, host of the Sock Soder Unfiltered podcast. Today we have Nate Case, who is the CTO of TPO Group, and welcome to the show. But before we dive in, a quick word from our sponsor. At Sock Soder's core, their goal is to be a true partner and extension of their customers' team with clients, customers, and community. Sock Soder is a US-based 24-hour SOC SIM. They help their partners address cybersecurity, vulnerability management, and compliance requirements and needs. All right, now that's out of the way. Welcome to the show. All right, Nate, you got a big history of security. So why don't you start off with yourself or how you got to the TPO group, all that other stuff, because I know you have a lot of good information to share.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. So realistically, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I started out as a dev, and we started writing as a developer.
Okay.
And we started writing C#, and we had a really good time, and none of us, for even a blink of a moment, thought that any of the things that we were about to do were actually cybersecurity. It was making cool stuff, doing nifty things. Some of the original projects I worked on were facial recognition.
Oh, wow.
And
so what year was this? Because I'm like, I love dates.
This is like 98, 99.
Good Lord. Wow.
So a long time ago. Yeah, I'm an old guy. Yeah. And that was, I mean, like we can go all the way back to like 94 when we were starting to look at what, different protocols were. Who here remembers what the Gopher protocol was? There's all sorts of fun things that existed on the internet back then. And so time went on, and we were having a good time with some of the original bits and pieces of TCP and Gopher protocols and all these crazy little things. And all of a sudden, 10 years roll by, and I find myself doing, and we all know that we shouldn't do this now, but writing my own algorithms for encryption and doing really fun stuff for the Department of Energy, doing really interesting things that revolve around how do we make things more resilient? How do we make things more redundant? My first foray into something that is defined as cybersecurity now was doing hardware testing and pen testing on firewalls. And we had a really good time. We had a wonderful lab. We broke all sorts of stuff. It was great.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the moment that I began to really get into what is now termed as cybersecurity. And so here we are,
So
20 years later from that.
2008 then.
That was like 2005, 2008.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we start rolling into where we are today. And that between those 2 points, that's building a lot of data centers, that's doing some really nifty things that turned into larger portions of other companies. Worked with AWS for a number of years. Helped to build some of the data centers that actually became US East too. Did a lot of really fun, kind of geeky things when it comes right down to all of the nifty cool things that you can do on the internet today. And that's really turned into me helping or partnering with the 4 people that I'm partnered here in TPO Group with, Tara Wheeler, Edna Conway, and Rob Kanacki. We all kind of have our own specialty. Rob is obviously the policy guy. He wrote the cybersecurity policy for the United States. Edna Conway was the CSO over at Cisco, or rather, she was the CSO over at Azure and was one of the lawyers at Cisco, one of the chief lawyers at Cisco for one of the branches. Tara is a globally recognized policy and compliance person. And I generally do incident response and architectural creation. How do we make new cool things, both in the cloud and in the data center? That leads to doing incident response quite a bit, actually, because most of the time people want help with cleaning up the mess.
Yeah. So first, in order to clean up the mess, you got to identify it, which can be a challenge.
There we go. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So that's always the hardest, is to identify it. And you're like, oh, snap, that's been in my network for 5 years now. Oh, shit.
You'd be surprised how often that happens, actually. I've had a number of incidents over the years where it's a moment of, wait, how long has that been here? Well, we don't have logs past 7 years ago. Sorry.
Oh, snap. Oh, gosh. And going through all the logs for 7 years. Yuck.
Not happy.
So let's talk about AI then. So AI is able to help you guys, right? Right.
Yeah, it is.
So let's talk about
Absolutely.
that because I know
So
everybody
AI
wants to talk. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've got the vuln-apocalypse right now, right? That is the
Yeah.
ideal moment that AI is going to come and help us, except, well, maybe not. And that's kind of the moment that we're at right now, is this really weird, what's going to happen next? It's interesting, as we sit here today, one of the things that keeps coming up is this concept of, how big a deal is Mythos? How big a deal is Glasswing? What is this really going to do? The thing that I keep telling my customers, whether in TPO Group, I also am one of the faculty at IANS. The thing I continually tell people is that the reality is everything that was wrong last week is still wrong this week.
Yeah.
The difference is now you get to see it. So if we think about this from the point of view of things in your reality, right? There were bad things that were coming to get you last week, but now you can see them. And so getting freaked out about it isn't really the appropriate answer. It's not going to be helpful. As an incident responder, at least I know what's coming. And now I can take reasonable, logical steps to fix it. Think about this like, if we look at the last 20 years of security, just cybersecurity in general, how many people here, and I'm sure you'll all play along at home, how many people here, raising your hands, have had a security person give you some level of fear, uncertainty, and doubt? We like to call it FUD.
All the time.
Yeah. All the time.
Yeah.
This is the way that people sell security stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there, like myself, and I'm sure like you, Melissa, that don't appreciate FUD at all. And so for the first time ever, with Glasswing and with Mythos and with a lot of the new AI models, we actually have the ability to define the negative space. We can actually look out there and tell you, how big is this void that you've been working inside for the last X number of years, and how much more work do you have left to do? And yeah, that number is probably a lot bigger than you want it to be. I get you, but at least you know what that number is now, and that's a pretty big benefit. You just have to accept the reality that that's what's changed.
So you think that AI is leveling the playing field for the defenders? Because I remember seeing, I was in some conference and they were looking at, the evolution of hackers and defenders. And the hackers were humans and the defenders were Neanderthals, because that was the big gap,
Yeah.
Because they're the ones trailblazing it and we're trying to catch up as a defender, right? So do you see AI as narrowing that maybe, we're a human, but I don't know when humans were like 20,000 years ago. I don't know the dates of that.
We'll call it early Cro-Magnon,
are we catching up to be a human now?
So what I would tell you is that the difference between hackers and being both a hacker and a defender in this one, wearing both hats, as it were,
right.
It's much easier to be a hacker. I don't have rules necessarily. I don't have to worry about things. Now, there's a really interesting.
Rich. Yeah.
Well, you can be rich.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm actually working on a paper with a friend, the Krug, that will basically go into what we call unrestricted warfare. What does it look like when we actually have an attacker target a civilian entity? We go into the Rome statutes and a bunch of the other things that go into what does it actually look like when nation states attack civilians. It's not pretty. But the reality here is, as we pull back and look at your question in general, is the attacker or the defender better off right now? We're reaching a really weird moment where the attackers have almost no rules. And so that's kind of scary. And when we say, Cro-Magnon versus Neanderthal versus, normal Homo sapien, it's really, it's funny, but it's just so different. I would tell you that AI, if embraced appropriately and understood deeply, can be a defender's fortress. It can be a fallback, can be a redoubt, and that's excellent. The other side of that coin, unfortunately, is that it also means that attackers can do really cool things with different types of technology, different languages, technologies that historically they haven't been able to approach or address because they didn't have the technical knowledge or wherewithal to appropriately address that. So now we have really interesting ways to attack things. Now, complaining that Mythos is the vulnapocalypse is not true. The vulnapocalypse happened 35 years ago when we all stopped doing the appropriate hygiene that we've all talked about, all the security geeks have talked about for the last 25 years. Do you have MFA? Most important question you can ever ask, and the answer should always be yes. I'm sorry, it's just MFA.
So MFA, is that the best defense, you think? Or what do you think of all the cheapest?
It's the lowest cost, easiest answer for most people to get to.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so consequently, it's going to make a huge impact. Does MFA get you around the vulnapocalypse? Well, no, obviously not. But it does make it a little harder for the attacker. So, okay, cool. But it's going to be a consistent effort that is going to be this. This is where we need to go. I'm working with a client right now that basically gave me their Git repo. And I went ahead and looked at this Git repo and took everything apart and saw what they were doing and realized that effectively, like I just said, Mythos gives us a really nice negative space for them. We can tell them how big the map is. And yeah, if we're playing a video game, they're only looking at a little portion of the map in the middle. And that's cool, I get it. But now we know how big the map is. We know how much time they're going to have to play the game to get to all the corners. And so as we think about like what you just asked, where are we sitting? How do we move through it? Is MFA the best thing? For some people, yeah, it really is. And for most people, yeah, it really is. If you are a mom and pop, if you are a water company, if you're a critical infrastructure that has 5 people on staff to do all the things, including cybersecurity, yeah, man, MFA is your jam. Go do that.
Yeah, yeah.
As a side note, as you get through that, are you ever going to clear this map? Hell no. You are never going to clear this map. But if you're a little mom and pop, if you're a critical infrastructure person, dude, there are a handful of things. You need to do MFA. You need to make sure that your infrastructure is locked down. You can't have things randomly connected to the internet. You have to make sure that you have some level of endpoint protection. Zero trust isn't an option. It's a necessity. And as long as you've got those things down, you're in a reasonable place.
So you talked about your customers. So I do compliance. That's my jam here. So it always, compliance doesn't always equal security. You know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. People like, oh, I have policies. And I'm like, are the policies, will keep you warm at night when you light them on fire, right? But otherwise they don't really do anything.
Yeah.
But, you were talking also about the water treatment plants, but they are using SCADA systems that are super old. Oh, I remember what it was. You work with a lot of customers. I work with these small mom and pops. So the thing, my challenge is, and tell me if it's easier at the larger business, is the culture change, because all they do is complain. It's like, I have to log in every 30 minutes after I step away. It's like, yes, you do. And then they're like, then I have to deal with like years and years of working with these people to try to change the mentality. It's like, no, because of this. So you have to be able to translate it in something that they understand. But cybersecurity is like a credit card swipe fee. It's part of doing business nowadays, I think.
Yeah.
And how have you seen it selling it from, say, let's do 10 years ago to 5 years ago to now? Has it been easier for you, or are you still seeing a lot of pushback?
So I would say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and even 20 years ago, cybersecurity wasn't really cybersecurity. It wasn't a thing. Right. That's not true 10 years ago, obviously, for those of you doing the history machine and going back and going, obviously it was. But in the long past, there was a moment when cybersecurity was just part of technology. And I think that's really where we need to start leaning back into. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, all of these like middle points, you start seeing this moment where we spiked on this concept of we need division. And we need division because, well, cybersecurity is just so big and nobody knows all the things, and man, it's hard. Okay, you're right, it is. I'm not debating any of that. But the reality is you get in a car, right? Yep. You turn on the car. Yep. You expect to go to your grandma's house or mom's house or whatever, right? Yep. How do you stop? Well, I push on the brakes. Was there a cybersecurity person or a security person to develop the brakes because they needed it? Obviously not. There was a product design person that looked at it and said, you know what? We can get you going up to 110 miles an hour. We probably ought to figure out how to get you to go 0. It's just part of the normal technology. And so as we sit here and think about it now, we've kind of moved to this point where cybersecurity is its own specialty. And okay, I get it. It's hard. I hear you.
Mm.
But that said, as we move into the next section of the world, as we move into the next section of the things that are in the future, developers, kind of back where I started, really are the answer for where do we go with cybersecurity? How do we sell cybersecurity? How do we work with cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is a developer's issue. It's a developer's focus. It should be an infrastructure person's focus. It is the thing that they need to work on. So as you think about compliance, as you think about governance, how do I write governance policies that will make compliance frameworks do the things that they do? Well, we have to meet the developers where they're at and not tell them, oh, here's, by the way, 50 extra things that you need to do now.
Yeah.
Here's an automated platform that tells you, are you compliant while you develop? Hey, did you know that you just put, PHI, PFI, PII in this code? Did you intend to? Do you know that this is going to go to your TPRM system, the third-party risk management system, and then be evaluated for, whether it was supposed to be there or not? The developer sits there and goes, nope, I didn't realize that. Maybe I should use a different key other than your social security number. Just a second. And that's the moment when it's really, really simple. And we miss that. And we try to tie it on. We try to tie cybersecurity onto the end of this thing. Well, now we need to do row encryption and column encryption by cell authorization. It's a mess. And if we had just started at that very entry point and had that developer go, oh yeah, I really shouldn't use the SSN as the ID for this entire column, it's not so hard.
I would hope that coders are getting away from that.
Oh, they are. I use it as I use it as a jokingly. I use it as a joking hilarity point. I've got a story there if you want to hear it.
Earlier, no, do tell the story, because I'm kind of like you're talking. I'm like, I'm horrified. I'm like, developers still do that?
No.
I know they were doing that 20 years ago, but I hope they've learned so far.
In the not too distant past, we'll call it less than 7 years ago, I worked with a defense industrial based company, and they had believe it or not, a grill app, and the grill app was effectively allow you to order your hamburger on Friday during the summer. So you could get your hamburger made, and it would bill to your appropriate employee account and all of these things,
Wow.
And
was this at the Pentagon? Where was this at? Like, where?
I'm not going to tell you.
Oh, okay. Super secret. Okay. I have a TS clearance, by the way.
Oh, good for you. So do I.
Okay. So you can tell me.
No, I can't.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
But so they actually used the SSN to evaluate whose burger it was, because they needed to bill it back to the employee's number.
God.
And we didn't recognize it. Nobody knew about it until we came in to actually change it from being an AS400 into being Lambda for AWS. So we did a conversion from AS400 into Lambda, and one of the first things we did was evaluate the data structure. Hand goes up. This looks like it says SSN for the ID column. Does this say SSN for the ID column? Yes. Why? Is that a problem? Nope. Let's go ahead and fix that. Wow. So. But it's these silly things that'll get you. And as we get into Glasswing, as we get into Mythos, as we start talking about these things, these things are going to come up, man, and that's going to suck. But would you rather know?
Yeah. No, I think some of my customers would just rather stick their head in the sand and pretend it's not happening, because if you don't see it, because cybersecurity is, you can't see it, can't smell it, can't touch it, it's not tactile. And so it's really hard for people to understand. And get it.
Unfortunately, it is all of those things now. You have the light to shine into the darkness to see all of the things that people have been telling you about for the last 20 years. And now you actually get to see them for the first time ever. You get to find out that your data hasn't been tagged. You get to find out about data provenance. You get to find out about file movements. You get to find out about all this wonderful stuff that is really important. And this is going to be a lot of work.
Yes, very much a lot of work. So what is the thing that gets you excited about the most? Is it AI, like what you do in your day-to-day? Is it what is it? What makes you happy?
I like creating stuff. I end up being my friends got me a cute little plaque about 5 years ago after a really bad incident. And it says dumpster fire guru on it. And I've got it hanging up in my office, and it's fun. But the thing I really enjoy most is creating things. So I've gotten to do a couple of different products occasionally in my lifetime, and it's been a lot of fun. Building different weapon systems, building different services for AWS, really having a hand in the way something was created is a lot of fun. And being able to do some of the work I do here at TPO Group, tends to be R&D work. We're working with a couple of customers right now that, hey, I've got an idea. Let's talk about how we make this idea better. Let's talk about how we bring this to market. Let's talk about what that ends up being. And I think that's really that's just a whole lot of fun.
So you're still coding then? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're building security tools. Is that what?
In many cases, yeah.
Wow. Wow. So that's what your customers are asking you is like, I want to do something like that. And is it proprietary just for them? Because I saw that you do a lot of government work too.
Yeah, I do a lot of government work. I generally will consult with or discuss with kind of that R&D sort of a consulting thing with all sorts of different just private companies. I've got a couple of folks that are giving us everything from hardware that would think about like IoT types of things all the way out to services that you would utilize for a specific portion of your lifetime type of thing. And they're really neat things, but it can be really hard. Well, let's look at it this way. With the advent of AI, it's really easy for Melissa, I'm going to use you as an example, for you to come up with like really cool ideas. Why? Because now all of a sudden, for the first time in your life, you have the ability to have like a doctoral thesis graduate type of person answer all of these wonderful questions on any subject you could ask. So now all of a sudden there are no stupid questions, or rather they're all stupid questions, but you have the answers, you have the privacy, you get to figure out what those questions actually mean. And so all of these wonderful ideas that are in you, Melissa, can suddenly become products. That's great. Except for the exact same reason that we just got Mythos, in that there are a whole buttload of them. And so now we've got to figure out which of these products are actually good. And so we've got a couple of them that we're working with right now that are really good products from the point of view of, this is a really good idea. It's actually a missing niche in the world around us. And I'd like to help you with this. And so those are the things that really make me happy, because we can go through a huge number of things using, in some cases, AI, but also talking to people and getting to know them. And then kind of, I'm going to call it educate or architect the things that they've come up with, just like you would in a totally different, unrelated, parallel, work stream that they've never had to touch before. But, I've got all the technical and security experience and a lot of the physics and the material experience as well. So it's kind of fun to go play with the things that they're talking about and give them some, well, this is where the rough corners are. This is where the sharp edges are, and try to whittle those down a smidge for them. It's a lot of fun.
So as a business, what does the business owner really need to think about protecting them with AI or their employees? Is it how they use the AI? You just don't use, your customer or your proprietary information, because I think maybe people don't realize that because they're not technical. What would you say a business, 100-person company, let's talk, because that's the most out there. What do they need to do to protect themselves? What are some tips that you could give them?
Tips and tricks.
Tips and tricks.
So I wrote a blog a long ass time ago. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I swear
I said the
all
word
the time.
ass. So I wrote a blog a while ago for AWS when I worked there, and it was the top 10 security things you could do at the time. And this is 10-ish years ago now. But the first thing you could do was MFA, or one of the first two things I think you could do with that was MFA. The first thing you could do is make sure your information's correct, which sounds silly, but at the same time, it's really important. If you haven't gotten your email correct, or you're using your personal email as opposed to your public or your work email, there's some issues. And so let's talk about what that looks like real quick. So same as 10 years ago, works just like it did today. If you've got MFA as a business owner, go down the MFA track. Make sure that all of your business stuff is business stuff. You shouldn't be using your private Gmail for your AI account. You shouldn't be using your private Gmail for your cloud account. This is common knowledge for a compliance person like you. This is bread and butter. Do the thing, man.
But you are surprised about how many, because it's easy. Because it's easy just to use it. You gotta say it.
Just say it. Yeah. It's easy. So we go ahead and we talk about these things, and I think those are important. But as we move into how does that business owner actually utilize AI in these scenarios, have your TPRM done, man. Do your third-party risk analysis.
Oh, okay.
Third-party risk management. So did you actually do third-party risk on your AI vendor? Did you go look at Claude? Did you go look at Anthropic? And how were they going to use your data? And if the answer is you didn't, pay for your own version of Anthropic. They don't use your data to train their new models. That's really where you want to go. I'm not your lawyer. I play a lawyer on TV type of an answer here. But go talk to your compliance person and realize why that's important. Realize where your data is going to go. And this comes back to a lot of the normal hygiene stuff we told people 20, 25 years ago is you need to know where your data is. Make sure you understand what that looks like. And as you talk about your third-party risk management, understand where that data is going to be used from third parties management, third parties actions too. So if I'm going to use, Grammarly, I love Grammarly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But Grammarly takes my data and they're going to use it with an AI because that's what Grammarly is. Okay, cool. Well, where does that go? Well, that just goes to their own private model. Oh, okay, well, that's okay. I don't mind that so much. That fits in my risk profile, my threat model. And so as we think about the threat model that I've set up from just take the case myself, I can use Grammarly. That's okay. This is solid. But as we move into the business that you're running or that I'm running, we need to understand what the risks are to business for that thing. So now if we're going to use one of these third-party engines that use multiple different AI vendors, we have to understand how that data is transited. We have to understand who's keeping copies of that data. Is that data then going to be used to train an AI model in the future? What is a frontier model according to this? Do I have the ability to use that? What is the benefit? And here's the trick. Just because they do use your stuff to train on, you might be okay with that. If the risk is not as cool as the reward, it's a business call. There are days when you have to make that call and it sucks as a business person, but you have to sit down and discuss where are we going to go and what are we going to do? Some of the folks that we're talking about right now, man, they don't have the couple $100 a month to get the private version of Claude. Okay, cool. Well, then understand what you're putting in Claude and set up a policy amongst your employees. If it's just 5 people, set it up that way. So they understand they're not supposed to put in passwords and PII but talk to them about it so that they understand what those things are.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say MFA. For me, I think it's training, because training people are your biggest weakness, and they're going to do stupid shit all the time, right? I've done stupid shit and I know better.
And so have I.
Yeah, because it's like those phishing emails are really good now, you know?
Yeah.
You get busy. Yeah, I mean, you get busy and you click on a link, because that's what happened with me. And I'm like, oh shit, I don't think I should have done that. And then, but the thing is too, is like when I get into businesses, I'm like, what's your sensitive information and where is it? And they're like, what is my sensitive information? And they have to think about that. I mean, they're like that low. And then they're like, well, where is it? Because that's my first questions. Where is it? How do you get it? How do you transmit it? And how do you store it? Those are my big questions. And a lot of times they don't even know, because they don't have any processes, or, their employee's been doing it for 50 years and they just haven't kept up with technology. And that's really scary. That's really scary. So hackers should just go after all the little businesses, because they don't know. Right?
Well, frankly, that's actually what's happening. So
can you
that's
talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So that is one of the scary things that's going on right now with this unrestricted warfare discussion and whatnot. There are a lot less boundaries that nation states are using, and because of AI and because of scale and cloud and all these other things, it's a lot easier to set up an attack that just allows us to attack as an attacker everybody. And so we've seen it recently with some of the teams, v-phishing, video phishing types of things that we've seen happening. It's just a lot simpler to go ahead and attack whole swaths of companies. What that means is that now all of a sudden, if you're the unlucky deer, as it were, and you happen to stumble in the forest and everybody else is running a little faster than you, you're the one that gets jumped on. And that means that at scale, we have to be better. What does that mean for us? As I sit here today and think about the attacks and the incidents that I've had to deal with in the last couple of months, it really does mean that even the small companies need to start doing MFA, TPRM. It means that they need to do, endpoint protection. It means that they need to think about zero trust. And it sucks, and I get it. But at the same point, that's really where we're at right now. Is a lot of the things that are hygiene that you've been told for years that you needed to do, and as a business owner you just couldn't afford. We're reaching that moment where we're reaching that pivotal moment where society is shifting. And that's kind of the scary moment, right? Like we see things that happened. A friend of mine and I were talking about buggy whips at the beginning of the century, beginning of the last century, and how it changed a whole culture and a whole bunch of things because of that. And all of a sudden, you're driving your own car as opposed to having a person that's driving your carriage. And there were all of these second and tertiary effects that nobody really thought about at the time of just inventing the automobile. Well, we've just invented AI, and it's been only a couple of years, and we're starting to see massive impact into the society that we have at whole. Some of it's amazing. Some of it's, like we talked about before, all of a sudden you have your own doctor sitting next to you in every possible subject, and you get to answer all the questions.
Yeah.
Cool. But at the same time, so do the bad guys. And you have to get smart enough to ask the questions that you need to ask. To do that, you have to ask the stupid questions. Dude, ask the stupid questions, man. Figure out the things that you don't know about your business. When we talk about crown jewels and we talk about some of those things, I actually I think it was a talk for AWS, God, almost 10 years ago now, that really went into what are your crown jewels. I did an incident not too long ago. Well, I've done a couple of incidents over my lifetime that deal with this particular topic, but we'll talk about one not too long ago, where there was a logistics company and they didn't realize that they were important. And they dealt with chemicals, and some of the chemicals that they had, that they were transiting, were relatively dangerous chemicals that could be used in chemical weapons. That's a big deal. That's scary. The thing is, that's not the scary part. So the scary part was that they held the logistics for those chemicals for the entire planet.
Oh, I can see where this can go.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, this thing that you thought was your crown jewels, well, that's not actually your crown jewels anymore. And so in some cases, to the point that you just made, the first thing you ought to ask Claude when you get there, and I like Claude personally, so I'm going to use Claude. The first thing that I would ask Claude is, hey, this is my company. What are my crown jewels? What are the things that people are going to be looking for? Just silly things like that. And it seems like a stupid question, but I kid you not, is one of the better spends of tokens that you will probably make in the near,
that's
near
interesting.
future. Get an opinion.
Really
Get somebody. Get a cold third party, computed opinion about what are the things that somebody's going to want to steal from me. Probably not going to be money. In many cases, a lot of the attacks that we see have nothing to do with the money. They have more to do with intel over the long term. They have to do with understanding a person's actions, understanding some level of product creation or IP around product creation. It's not really to do with let me steal your money and run away.
Yeah, because that's finite. Because it
Doesn't
may be
matter.
$1 million. That's it. But your other stuff could be worth billions. Yeah.
Right.
So
and it doesn't matter. Like that's just such a small number.
Yeah. So you do incident response. What are you seeing? Like, are the attacks all over the place? Because what we're seeing is mostly Microsoft attacks, and they're getting really sophisticated. What are you seeing?
Microsoft attacks are the more common ones right now. And I mean, we can bag on Microsoft all we want to.
Well, it's just that everybody uses it. So I think it's an easy target because
I think there's pushback there. I would tell you that I prefer Google. I haven't seen as many hacks on Google. I haven't seen as many hacks on Google because realistically, it's harder to hack. Sorry, Microsoft, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Look, but at the same time, Microsoft is a much larger attack surface.
Yeah.
So they have a much harder problem to solve.
Yeah.
And the reality is they haven't been doing a good job, in my opinion. Now, that's my opinion. Again, I play a lawyer on TV, yada, yada, yada. But the reality here is that they need to get better at cybersecurity, and they need to get better at user interface, and they need to get better at all of the things that, frankly, Apple is really, really good at.
Yeah.
And until they get better at that stuff and actually spend time at doing that as opposed to focusing on the money of the thing, I think we're going to be in the same position we're in. Now, that's kind of one of those other really interesting mythos questions. Now that we all know how big our map is, do we have the ability to push back on some of these companies like Microsoft and say, look, we need you to focus on making things better much faster than you are. Your map is a hell of a lot larger than everybody else's, and it's a lot riskier. So we talk about threat models, and Adam Shostak threat modeling.
No.
Okay, hell of a guy, really good stuff. Threat modeling, yay! Go Google threat modeling.
Yeah.
But we have to threat model some of these things in our head, our personal lives and all that. And as we threat model something like this, if Microsoft is your core OS, you're using Windows and that's your thing, but your threat model has some pretty significant things in it, like cyber, maybe you're big into crypto and whatnot. You really need to have some serious thought about how you're going to provide yourself appropriate security, how you're going to provide yourself appropriate mitigation for some of the risks that are inherent then in some of the choices that you've made. And honestly, a really good thing to ask Claude, or call us and we'll happily talk you through it and run the whole thing down for you. But it is one of those moments where being a Claude, being an AI is great, but you need to ask and you need to know how to ask the right questions. So until you know how to ask the right questions, man, just ask as many as you can.
Yeah, that's good, because every time, like, I do CMMC, that's what I do, right? So people use AI to write their policies and procedures.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
no, they do. And I'm just like, ugh. Okay, well, you're gonna fail. Okay, so go ahead and try that and spend your $50,000 and fail, and then, call me back. But, because my thing is, that's what I do. I use AI a little bit for compliance, but I know it's only an 80% solution. If you don't know what the controls are, you're always gonna fail. You have to, ask the question, ask it a different way, educate yourself, because you can't just blindly say, oh yeah, that looks good, let me go ahead and use it.
Yeah,
You got to put some human thought into that. And
absolutely.
and I'm still not convinced that AI is replacing humans quite yet. I think there was some bank that laid off 20,000, and they're realizing that their AI tokens were more than the salary of the humans that they did. So
here's the thing: this is an awkward reality, and I'm sorry, Sam Altman and all of the other folks out there that do AI. Look, if somebody's telling you that AI is going to replace your humans, if AI is going to replace your jobs, it's going to replace some jobs. I'm not going to disagree with the vague generality, but when we get to the specifics and we look at what's actually happening, there are things that AI can't do. And when it comes to the actual understanding of second and third order impacts, when it comes to understanding what the creation of something's going to be, when it comes to being creative about many of the things in front of us, AI is really good at what I would call summarizing and synthesizing data from huge lakes and vast amounts of data, much better than humans are, because we can't fit all of that in our head. But when it comes to understanding that synthesized thing and saying, okay, how does this actually fit into reality? And what is the actual impact of this to all of the other things? It doesn't do a good job of that. So understanding some of the choices you're making and trying to make sure that you have this bounded box, if you will. For me, for instance, when I've done some CMMC consulting myself, Melissa. When it comes to things like this, I'll run people's policy.
Do you love it? Do you love it?
No, it's honestly, it's a really, like, from a business point of view, it's a really easy, low brain intensity way to make money many times, because realistically, I need to make sure you're doing what you said you were going to do.
Yes.
And I'm sure you would agree. But the high intensity portion of that comes back in when it comes to, now we have to figure out how to creatively make this control work. And your business is unique. And now all of a sudden the AI doesn't help you so much.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. Because I've used some AI CMMC tools, and I'm like, this is still generic. I can make it work with AI, but I'm going to put more work into getting it right than for me to just write it myself. So
exactly.
That's why you need me. And you.
And I think that's important. Well, and that's the other thing, as we get into things like, I just talked to a really interesting company that wanted to do AI for incident response. Okay, that's great. Let's go ahead and do AI for incident response. Your attacker's going to talk to your AI. You get that, right? And everybody kind of goes, it's up to you, man.
Funny. But it's cheaper, man. It's cheaper, Nate.
Yeah, sure it is.
Okay, yeah, that's really funny. That's great. So I guess they did a 180 on that, right?
It depends. I mean, a lot of the things that we're getting into are, sure, I will happily show you how to make your AI do incident response and incident, basically recovery to operation.
Incident response, I feel, is an art, not a science. You got to
It
know where
is.
to go. You can't use a tool to do that, to do incident.
It,
That's
it,
crazy.
and I have my own set of tools that I've crafted over years and all of that, and that's
Sure,
fine.
sure, but you need a
Um,
human to take all the information to
yeah,
to synthesize it, like you said, and to what does this mean?
understand what's
Where should I
going
go
on.
next? Or where do I
Right.
need to
Well,
go next and look at?
and that's the thing. Like, as you look at some of these things, and you go, well, how did you get to the fact that this chemical company knew the logistics? Well, we kept asking questions and we kept turning over rocks, and we figured out and we thought about it from the attacker's point of view. Who's looking for this stuff? Why would any? Oh, that's a different question. All of a sudden, it's a different thought behind what do we
Yeah,
have here, and that second sort of weird twist to the whole thing. Yeah, if you can think like an attacker, chances are you're going to get a better answer than if you can just look at the stuff on the table.
yeah. So, as an attacker, as a black hat, then do you have you made any money off of that?
No,
I'm just wondering because I do know somebody that should have had a felon back in the
no,
90s because you were
no.
around that time. No, darn
I,
it.
I was around that time, and
Where
yeah,
there was
I'm
no
not going to
laws
comment.
about it.
Yeah,
There's no
I'm not
laws.
going to comment on that, Senator.
Okay,
I
okay.
do not recall.
Good answer. Okay, that's what I thought. All right, that's awesome. Yeah, because I know back then there was no rules and you never get caught because there was no such
Well,
thing as a defense, really.
yeah, and I think that's actually one of the things that comes into now. I mean, and this is a totally different topic from what we've been talking about so far, but one of the biggest concerns that I have for our upcoming the youth, the folks that are coming in to fill our shoes at some point, they don't have the same stuff that we have. They weren't allowed to make the same mistakes that we were allowed to make because the rules are here now. And so it's a lot harder for newbie persons to come in and look at it and go, hey, look, I'm going to do this thing over here. And everybody's screaming and telling them no. Writing encryption algorithms for DOE was one of the first things that I did when I started. That's a stupid thing to do. Don't write your own encryption algorithms. It's dumb. But at the time, we didn't know any better. And
Yeah.
so as a dilettante, I started writing my own encryption algorithms, and they were not bad. But at the same time, were they open source? Were they tested by thousands of people? Did they have thousands of hours logged behind them to evaluate whether or not I had done all of the math
Mm,
correctly? No, they didn't. They had me, and I did all the math on lots of really big whiteboards. But
wow.
I don't think that that's nearly solid enough for today. And no, don't write your own crypto. Not a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. So we're at the end, kind of sorta, but I want to
Yeah.
for anyone listening who wants to connect with you or learn more, what's the best place to reach you at?
So the best place to reach me at is probably North Nathan at TPO Group.
You said N North and like the
No, like North N at
okay,
TPO.group.
okay. All right, sounds good.
Thank you for tuning in to the Socksoder Unfiltered podcast. Be sure to check out other episodes and subscribe so you don't miss out on great conversations.